Hey, it's Mark Lynn here with your video thought for the day. Well, I'm still in travel week and we're Thursday now. So you've got 1 or 2 more days, I guess 2 more days of travel with me. And I'm in this hotel room and this has got to have Winston Churchill is all over this hotel room. That's just the way it is. Look at this. That's him, Winnie. Winston Churchill, of course, a huge leader in England during World War II. And as huge a leader as he was, he pales in comparison to Moses as a leader for Israel. Think about it. Moses redeemed or rescued Israel, God working through him, from hundreds of years of life in Egypt. They'd been enslaved by the Pharaoh for practical purposes, and Moses is used by God to work miracles to get them out of there. And then, for 40 years, Moses sees them through the wilderness. He calls down manna from heaven to help feed them. He calls down meat when they need meat. Water comes when they need water. He's able to help them in victory over the various tribes they come up against. Moses is their leader. It's Moses who goes up on the mountain and gets the word of the Lord for them. When God's mad at them, it's Moses who intercedes for them. They are alive because of Moses. And Moses reaches a point where the Israelites are finally going to go into the promised land. And Deuteronomy 31 talks about Moses' speech to them before they go in. Moses explains that he's like 120 years old at this point. And Moses says, I can't go out, I can't come in, my mobility's shot. He says, it's not for me to go in with you. I won't be going in this massive land invasion you're about. This had to have severely disturbed the Israelites. Moses remember, they were fighting one set of battles and they would only win if Moses had his hands held out. When his hands dropped down, they'd start losing the battle. They had people propping up Moses' hands so they could win. The idea that Moses wouldn't be with them to go where they were going was a huge problem and a huge concern. But Moses said, don't worry, because God's going to go with you. And he's going to put Joshua in my place, and you're going to do to these tribes what you did to the other tribes when I was leading. That the Lord's going to deliver them over to you. And then, in verse 6, he gives us our travel verse. Moses says, to be strong. He says, be courageous. Don't be in fear. Don't be in dread, because the Lord your God goes with you, and he won't leave you, and he won't forsake you. I love that as a travel psalm, but I love that in my life. I need a God who will give me strength, who will give me courage, who will not leave me, who will not forsake me, but will go with me. Now, I'm on the road. You may not be on the road the way I am, but life's a journey. And we may not have Winston Churchill, and we may not have Moses, but we have the Lord. And if God is with us and he's going before us, all we've got to make sure, if he goes before us, is that we're following him. And if we're following him, courage, that could be our name. No fear. We can live in the no fear zone when we're following in the wake of the Lord. No dread. We can be courageous. We can know that God won't leave us. He won't forsake us. He's with us. Now that is good for all of life's journey. Whether you stay put or whether you're on the road, you follow God's leading and you'll never be alone. It's your video thought for the day. More coming tomorrow.